To call the September 19, 2019 Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Garay? Mr. Margraf?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Any conflict of interest statements?
No, sir.
No. Approval of minutes of meeting of September 12th, 2019. I'll defer.
Okay, I recommend we defer the reading of the minutes of September 12th, 2019.
And I'll concur. Correspondence, item A, request for advertising dates of September 26th, 2019 and October 3rd, 2019 with the bid opening date of October 17, 2019 for renovations to the city jail.
Okay, I recommend we approve those dates.
And I will concur. Item B, agreement covering reconstruction of roadway, reconstruction of railroad highway grade crossing, and relocation of grade crossing warning devices at Sheffield Avenue and Brunswick Street.
Good morning. This particular agreement relates to our Chicago Street Phase 1 project that's set to have a bid opening in November. So NDOT really needs us to get these agreements approved. Kevin's reviewed the agreements for their conformity. The first one is for the Nickty crossing, and basically the agreement is to make improvements in and around where Nickty crosses Sheffield on our so-called Chicago Street project. It is funded 80-20, so 80% of the funding for the work will be through the project through NERC or NDOT, and 20% is a local match. Heather's aware of the funding requirements for this project. We normally don't sign contracts without the corresponding party also signing it before us, but in this case it's an NDOT agreement, and the railroad would rather have our signature first, and I think Kevin's okay with that at this point.
Yes, I reviewed actually those documents in front of you. I had a conversation with the engineering department. These are not dissimilar from the documents we had prior before the board. It has to do with the Chicago Avenue project and the right-of-way and the ability for CSX to do the work on the, is it CSX and?
This is Nickty first.
Nickty, okay. So, yeah, this has to do with Chicago Avenue project. Dean explained that. The law department's fine with them.
Okay, I'm going to recommend that we approve the agreement.
And I'll concur. Item C, agreement covering reconstruction of roadway, reconstruction of railroad, highway grade crossing, and replacement of grade crossing warning devices at Sheffield Avenue.
This is for CSX and ditto to everything I just said on their previous agreement.
Okay. Good.
Can I say ditto then also? No. I recommend we approve that also.
And I'll concur. Item D, roadway plans for Chicago Street widening and reconstruction project.
This would require the Board of Public Works and Safety signature on the title sheet for the plans, requirement by NDOT. So we ask kindly if you would sign the cover sheet for us, please, today.
Okay. I'm going to recommend that we approve those plans also.
And I'll concur. Okay. Item E, bid recommendation received from SEH of Indiana for the 6th District Local Street Project, Carolina Avenue and Tennessee Avenue lighting improvements.
Engineering departments reviewed this recommendation and the councilman's aware of the project and supports the project, and so we would recommend approval of the bid recommendation to award the contract, please. And that is to Hawk, if I recall correctly, Hawk Enterprises.
So the low bidder is Hawk Enterprises
Yes,
Incorporated of Crown Point, Indiana.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to recommend that we approve the bid recommendation.
And I'll concur. Item F, change order number 2 received from First Group Engineering for the substitution of the plan quantity for sod with seed and seed blanket.
Yeah, this is also a little bit of a tricky issue that I wanted to talk to you about. It made more sense to put seed and seed blanket down at this time rather than sod. The sod quantity was going to be placed in such a way that it would look inappropriate. So we're just cleaning the median from both sides. This is what we call the Mayor's Trail Phase 1, which goes from Hoffman at Torrance north and works its way up to the Marquette Greenway Trail. And that area on Torrance is kind of weed overgrown, and so we're putting seed and seed blanket down. The tricky part here is that we're asking for an increased contract quantity, which will increase the contract amount, but you will see a corresponding deduct in the project, significant deduction in the project as a result of portion of the project that we're removing, which is it's on Torrance between the NICD tracks and Goslin. That project is now a reconstruction project that's under design. So we're exempting that portion of the work out of the project. So that'll save a significant amount to cover the cost of making this look much nicer.
And this is a discussion that has been had with the city controller
Yes.
from the financial standpoint?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the net effect is that we'll save money on the project.
Okay.
And it'll look much better in the end.
Okay, I'm going to recommend that we approve the change order for First Group Engineering.
And I'll concur. Item G, bid recommendation received from Nice Engineering, Inc. for the First District Local Street Project, Wolf Lake Ribbon Curb Project.
This was a project that was opened last week. Engineering departments reviewed Nice's recommendation. The councilman is aware and prefers this alternative, the more significant alternative, and so we would ask for your recommendation or your approval of this action.
And the winning bidder is
Dixon, I want to say.
Davis Concrete.
Sorry, I started getting the right letter first.
Davis Concrete
Out of
Construction
Moni,
Company is
Moni,
the,
Illinois.
lowest responsive and responsible.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Then I'm going to recommend that we approve the bid recommendation received from Nees Engineering.
And I'll concur. Correspondence received from Councilman Scott Rakos requesting $3,690 of gaming funds be allocated for French drains in the district. The request has been signed by the mayor as well as the councilman.
I recommend we approve the request or the correspondence received from Councilman Nichols.
And I'll concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item I, right-of-way permit form submitted for approval. Subject to working with building to become a license. Jaime, can you speak to these right-of-way permits, or Jonathan, I'm sorry, Jonathan? Sorry. It says, there's a note here, subject to working with building to become licensed. Does that mean anything to you?
We have no objection to them doing the work, but they do have to become a licensed and bonded contractor for the city of Hammond.
So that's what the note's all about. Is this,
There's an additional one, and they should have plenty of time to work with the building department to do that. But the rest of them are pretty straightforward.
so there's more than one in here?
Correct.
So are we approving a pending them getting a license?
So do we know, do they have licenses to operate here? Most of these,
All of them except for that one,
oh, the one on top?
yeah. And they've all been notified, the building department's been notified. I told them they need to make sure they work through
Okay.
the building department to make sure they're up to date with their license.
Okay,
So again, we're approving it pending them getting a license?
I would. Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, I'm going to recommend that we approve the right-of-way permit pending them getting a license.
And I'll concur. Correspondence received from Detective Jason Schaffbuck requesting release of vehicle titles from the Controller's Office. What is this, a letter that's got to come from us, or from the board? Okay.
Forward these to the Controller's Office.
She will.
He did it last year too, and the year before.
All right.
Okay, so I'm just approving it then?
Okay.
Okay, I recommend that we approve the correspondence from Detective Schaffbuck.
And I'll concur. Item K, access request for the Grand Calumet River Habitat Restoration Project. Mr. Smith, this appears as though someone needs access to get close to the Grand Calumet River for invasive weeds. It is, from invasive weeds.
This is actually a very beneficial program. The Port Authority has been utilizing this up near Lost Marsh, if you noticed, and I think BP has been doing a similar using similar product on their property in and around Lake Marion, south of 129th, because you've seen all that Phragmites kind of beat down. Port Authority's used it in those ditches along Lost Marsh. Phragmites and other invasive species are problematic for the real natural growth of what are the natural species in that area. They're now trying to do the same thing along the Little Calumet River, which will be great because it'll improve access to the river and things like that. So this, as you can see on the map, I'm not sure, Chief Margraf, if you can see that, we own a couple of the properties they're looking at doing this on, and so our recommendation is to approve this so that the state can move forward with the program. They just need access to the property to perform these activities on those invasive species.
Okay, I'm going to recommend we approve the access request.
And I'll concur. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item L, Third Amendment to Industrial Waste and Disposal Services Contract with Waste Management of Indiana, LLC.
Yes, to the board. This is I believe, it's entitled the Third Amendment, so of course it's the Third Amendment. This is an agreement we've had with Waste Management regarding our disposal of waste. This doesn't have anything to do with recycling, and this is just an extension of that agreement. The upside to this is they are holding their price for an additional 2 years. All right? And I'd recommend approval. And it has gone through the mayor's office as well.
Okay, I'm going to recommend we approve the Third Amendment to Industrial Waste and Disposable Services.
And I'll concur. Page 2. Item M. Correspondence received from Chief of Police John Doty advising of the resignation of Officer Alejandra Alvarez effective September 27, 2019, the retirement of Sergeant Todd Larson effective November 15th, 2019, and disposal authorizations.
Okay, I'm going to recommend we approve Chief Doty's request.
And I'll concur. Item N, rental registration hearing on property located at 4733 Calumet Avenue.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have 4 years with the house.
Can you push that down a little bit? Thank you.
Can you please say your name and your address also?
Oh, my name is Beatrice Vargas, 4733 Calumet Avenue. And I have 4 years with this house, and I forgot this year pay the stickers. I'm sorry because I forgot really this year.
Okay, Ms. Vargas, what's your current address?
Phone address?
Your current address?
Oh, yeah, I live in Dyer.
What is your address?
1277 Deer Creek, Dyer, Indiana.
Deer Creek, yeah, 1270, that's what we have, 1277 Deer Creek.
We've got 4729 Calumet Avenue.
Because I got on one side this house, I got all day. I had two address. I put two address because I got all day in Hammond, but I live in Dyer.
Where's the homestead exemption on your house? Where do you have the homestead exemption? You want to ask?
I have, yeah. ¿Dónde agarran las taxas de la casa donde usted?
Las taxas?
Sí,
En 4729.
ok. Pero, ¿quién está pagando las taxas para Dyer?
Oh, el mortgage lo paga. El mortgage lo paga ya.
Ok, ¿quién
Mi
vive
esposo.
en 4729?
Yo trabajo ahí. Ahí trabajo todo el día.
Ok.
Es un saloncito chiquito y la casa está a un lado. Entonces, yo ahí recibo todo el mail y todo.
Okay, what she states is that 4729 is her little office there, and she lives in Dyer. So she gets all her correspondence to 4729 Calumet.
It's in the office, it's a salon.
Does she have the homestead for Calumet or the Dyer address?
That I have no idea, I'd have to look.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Can you go ahead with what
Okay,
you
yes,
have?
this is 2 units for 4733 Calumet, and she owes for 2019, registered previously.
No issues before?
No. Back in 15, minor stuff.
Okay. Hopefully you can explain to her, she's gonna have to get the address thing handled one way or another. I mean, she has two addresses, which one does she want her mail sent to? So,
Tiene que decirnos a nosotros cuál dirección quiere que todo vaya. Okay.
okay, because it's her first time, I'm gonna recommend that we waive the late fee this time. So you will have to register both units at a cost of $5 per unit at the conclusion of today's meeting. Just make sure that it doesn't happen again, okay?
Yes.
You have from January 1st to April 15th. Make sure that you remember that somehow,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's my
I'm
recommendation.
sorry, thank you very much.
I'll concur.
Thank you.
Item O, rental registration hearing on property located at 6613 Marshall Avenue.
Mr. and Mrs. Johnson? You can, se puede esperar y al último. Okay, 6613 Marshall, this is owned by Monica and Edward Johnston. They have owned it for as long as we know. They had registered from 2016 and previous. They owe for 2017, 2018, and 2019, 1 unit.
17, 18, and 19?
Correct. And we have an address of 1070 North Warren Street, Gary, Indiana.
We have
We
a
got Chicago, Illinois address.
Okay. Can you give me that address, please?
It's 1735 West Peterson Avenue, S-O-N Peterson, Chicago, Illinois 60660. 1735 West Peterson Avenue.
1735. Thank you.
Because we have a different address, what should we do here?
Still think there should be at least one late fee involved here somewhere. 3 years running.
Okay, for,
I would do 17, 18. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
okay, I'm going to, for the years of 2017 and 18, I'm going to assess the late fee of $500. I'll waive the late fee for 2019. So she'll have to register those if we get an address or wherever we're sending this mail. She said it didn't come back, so we know it went through at least.
Okay, good.
So 17 and 18, late fee, 19, we're waiving the late fee. That's my recommendation.
I'll concur.
Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you.
Item P, rental registration hearing on property located at 734 169th Street.
Hi, good morning. I mailed my rental registration on March 15th, and then I came in June because I didn't receive the stickers. I thought they would come back in the mail. I normally come in person, but this year I mailed it. So when I came in June, the lady looked at stacks of papers and everything she had, and she did not find anything. So she said she probably thinks it got lost in the mail. I went and did a stop payment on a check, so I have that. I have a copy of the rental registration because I make a copy for myself before I mail the original. So that's my copy from March 15th. I tried to bring everything in that I could. I've paid every year. I don't know.
There's 3 units. She has registered previously and only owes for 2019.
3 units, you said?
3 units, correct.
Ma'am, what's your current address?
I'm at 8240 Bering in Munster.
Okay. Okay, no other issues, Jaime? Okay. I'm going to recommend that we waive the late fee for the 3 units.
Thank you.
Register all 3 at the conclusion of today's meeting.
Okay.
At a cost of $5. I'd like to give everybody a reminder to make sure that it's done in that 3.5-month period that you have at the beginning of the year.
Right.
Okay?
So we can do like certified mail or something like that where we know like it was received, or is that something that can be applied?
If you'd like. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, beginning in January, as Captain Long just pointed out, the beginning in January, you can actually come downstairs if you want.
Yeah.
But you can send it certified,
that.
and of course,
Okay.
that would give you a green card so that if you ever did have this issue come up again, you can show proof that it was.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because once we've met with you and waive it, if you come up before us again, it's not likely we're going to waive it again.
Right.
Just keep that in mind, okay?
That's too many
Okay, yes,
circumstances.
exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll concur with the recommendation. Item Q, rental registration hearing on property located at 7135 Northcott Avenue. Mr. Morris?
Yes,
Please state your name and your address.
yeah, Vernon Morris, good morning.
Morning.
6640 Hammond, Indiana.
This is, Mr. Morris purchased this in August of 2017. It has not been registered. And as he stated, he does live at 6640 Homan. Mr. Morris does own other properties, but not in Hammond. The only 2 properties you own in Hammond are 7135 Northcott and 6640, correct?
That is indeed correct.
Mr. Morris, what happened since 2017? How come you haven't registered?
When I registered, I believe I had registered when I first got the properties here. I'm surprised to hear that wasn't, but I thought also I'd read in the paper that they were going to stop the registrations, and obviously that did not happen. But that's the only reason I just forgot and didn't think that they were going to have it any longer. But I am more than happy to pay the registrations.
So it's for 17, 18, and 19, right? What do you think?
When did you start renting it, though? You bought it in 17, or you started
You
renting
gotta
it?
do 1 year. Is it?
He purchased it in 17.
When was the first rental?
In 18.
The problem is you don't require registration once it starts renting, so it'd be for 18, and 19 would be without any trouble with the property.
Okay, Mr. Morris, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt this time. So I'm going to recommend that we waive the late fee for 2018 and 2019. You can register those at the conclusion of today's meeting.
Yes,
Make sure that you make note that you have to do that every year, okay?
I will.
Okay, please do.
thank you.
Because you come before us again, we're probably going to impose the late.
Oh, I do understand.
Okay. that's
Thank
my
you again.
recommendation. Thank you.
And I'll concur with the recommendation.
Jaime, who's one unit?
Is it? Yeah.
Item R, correspondence received from Mr. Gary Gleason, Director of Public Works, advising of the placement of no parking this side signs on the north side of 116th Street between the alley east of Amy Avenue and Roberts Avenue for a 90-day trial period. Is this just kind of just acknowledgement? Okay, okay. Yeah, we need to vote on it.
So we may do this.
Recommendation to accept Gary's.
Okay, I'm going to recommend that we approve the correspondence received from Mr. Gleason.
And I'll concur. Item S, correspondence received from Mr. Gary Gleason requesting permission to place a sign stating, "No parking, no standing, no drop-off," at Conkey Street and Jefferson Avenue with the curb painted yellow.
Okay, I'm going to recommend we approve the correspondence from Mr. Gleason again.
And I'll concur. Item T, correspondence received from Clark Middle High School requesting permission to hold their annual homecoming parade on Friday, September 27, 2019 at 5 p.m. with route. Mr. Kalina.
Mr. President, that's no problem in this, but we also have Morton
Right.
at 4 o'clock. So I will get with Lieutenant Vicari and Captain Alcox about lining people up for both parades. And what, is their route just straight down 119th, I take it, usually?
They're going from the football field, 122nd to Davis, to 119th, to Brown, to 116th.
Oh, so they changed it this year, okay.
Davis,
Okay,
so it sounds like it may just go a little bit
A little further.
than
That's
maybe
fine.
had in the past. Okay.
Yeah, if you need any help with men or women, just let me know, okay?
okay, thank you, Captain.
Okay, I'm going to recommend we approve the correspondence from Clark.
And I'll concur. Item U, correspondence received from M.W. King Solomon Universal Grand Lodge, Ancient York Masons, 863 Sibley Street, requesting permission to hold an end-of-summer cookout Saturday, September 28, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. with street closure.
Wow, the 800 block of Sibley. It's kind of rough.
To have the corner of Maywood and Sibley to the alley.
Are they just closing Maywood from Sibley to State?
That's what we're looking at right now, because we definitely can't do the 800 block of Sibley.
Right.
If it's just this little portion by Maywood, I think we need to drive by that. I need to go look at it.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
What time, when is the?
Next Saturday.
Okay.
We got time.
Okay, I'm gonna go by and look at that location to see exactly what they're asking for before I approve it, so, I'll,
Approve it
approve it subject to, driving by there and taking a look at what they're talking about.
And I'll concur.
Copy that when we leave.
Item V, correspondence received from Ms. Shonda Dawson requesting east and west stop signs at the intersection of 167th Street and Rhode Island Avenue.
Would you consider referring that to engineering for traffic warrant or stop warrant analysis, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I recommend we forward that to engineering for their review.
And I'll concur. Item W, correspondence received from Mr. Ruben Cornejo, Crawford Broadcasting Company, 6336 Calumet Avenue, requesting permission to use the vacant lot across the street from the business for employees to use at their employee appreciation event on October 11, 2019, from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Is that city-owned property, Mr. Smith, or do we know? The big vacant lot across from, if that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, I was just looking at.
Across from building in order to utilize our parking lot for this event.
I believe that's, they're talking about the big empty lot.
Are we talking about the old Harley Davidson, or next to that, to the south of that?
Well, it's on the west side, it would be on the west side.
Oh,
of
the west
street.
side.
Yeah, it's an even address, so it's the west side. I'm just trying to picture in my head where they're talking
I
about.
am too, and this is near the,
It's a big vacant lot right there in the corner of Kenwood and Calumet.
That would be on the east side.
I thought it was on the east side
Southeast
though.
corner, southeast corner.
But
And they got the address.
Captain Long said it was an even number.
If it's an even number, it's the west side, so they got the address. Oh, across
Oh,
from that
cross from it,
address,
so it would
okay.
be, so this is what I can report. The old Harley Davidson property is privately owned. That's on the northeast corner. I don't believe they're talking about that. They're probably talking about the southeast corner.
Yes.
That is also privately owned.
All right, let me.
We own, I should say, I know the city did the demolition on the lot that's right next to the first house there. Used to be another house there that was in poor condition. That was knocked down by the, through the inspections department. But I don't believe that changed ownership, and I don't think that redevelopment commission has purchased that on tax sale. Mr. Button is showing me that is privately owned as according to the Lake County GIS, so it's privately owned. We'd have to get, if we can probably, Mr. Button can give Lynn the information on who owns it. Maybe she can relate that to them. But I don't know if we have any jurisdiction over that piece of property.
Okay. We got time. So we're gonna, sure, we defer action.
Let me see that.
Okay, okay.
I'm going to recommend that we deny the request. We don't have the ability to approve that.
I'll concur. Okay, this is item X is where we have to use vocabulary.
Got it.
Item X, garage sale permit submitted for approval. I'll take half. I took more.
So you took way more.
I did. 6926. Okay, 1 day, 6 weeks. 2 days. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to recommend we approve the garage sale permits.
So you're saying you believe these are issuable?
Yes, I believe so.
Thank you. How about that? Item 6, matters from other board members. I do have one matter here before me. It is from Councilman Pete Torres requesting $1,230 for the installation of French drains in the alleys in the district to be done by B&D Sewer. His request has been signed by himself as well as Mayor McDermott.
I recommend we approve Councilman Torres' request.
And I'll concur. Matters from other department heads and/or their representatives. Mr. Smith.
Yes, I had a question for Captain Long as to whether or not there was any progress on that potential parade route down Calumet. I didn't know if you had had any contact with the church.
Yeah, the letter that lady had wasn't what we need. It wasn't from the right, part of the NDOT. So Lieutenant Vicari made contact with them. He still has not received message back from them whether they approve it or not.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We haven't, no.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? New business, there is none. Old business, there is none. Meeting's open to the public. Is anyone out here like to speak? Step up to the microphone, please, and state your name and business.
No. ¿Puede hablar ella por usted? Sí. Oh, can you speak English one? Sí. No. Go ahead. Sí puede hablar por él. Okay.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning.
On behalf of the Spanish Pentecostal Church of God on 4624 Holman, Hammond, Indiana, we're requesting a permit for the 28th of September between the hours of 8 to 6 for the solely purpose, and I have the letter here, to serve the community, refreshments, games. It's like a evangelize, and just to let the community that we're still standing. We have new pastors on property. So we just need, I'm requesting a permit between the hours of 8 to 6.
What was the address again? What was the address?
4624 Holman Avenue,
Okay, and it's all going to be done on property?
on property.
Okay, do you have any expectation of how many people might be there?
Not sure.
Is there going to be a parking issue, I guess is what I'm asking?
I wouldn't think so. We do have the facilities for the parking.
Will there be entertainment?
Yes, as far as music on the property, games,
Music?
family
Any
members.
bands? Noise?
No,
Nothing?
just speakers.
So So you
You're gonna have,
Porque
you're
other
obviously
one
gonna have to
time,
be
yeah.
careful as to the decibel level that you're gonna be.
Exactly. Well over.
So you're also gonna have to visit the environmental department here
Okay,
and get a permit for that
okay,
as well.
That's
all right,
upstairs.
okay,
It's upstairs, one floor up.
all right. No problem.
But you don't foresee any type of parking issue there at all? You're right close to the railroad tracks, if I'm not mistaken, are you not there on?
Yes, we're real close,
Holman.
but we have parking.
Okay.
And I believe, el parqueo del estacionamiento de la iglesia, que no va a haber problema. Ellos preguntan.
Bueno, lo que tratamos de hacer es que cuando, si es que ese es más bien el permiso, que lo que tratamos de hacer es que cuando el tren está, tratamos de darles ruta en una bolsa a la gente que...
Él habla en cuanto a estacionamiento, que por si acaso la gente se para, que no va a haber problema.
¿no? Pero nosotros lo que queremos es aprovechar la calle para dar esa ruta cuando ellos están pasando.
I mean, there shouldn't be an issue within the parking itself, but when the train does stops, we're gonna just give out fruits and things like that. That's what he stated.
And again, so all of this is gonna be contained on your property,
Yes.
correct? No public property involved whatsoever?
No necesita el estacionamiento del público alrededor, solamente la iglesia. Just church.
My recommendation, we're going to approve it pending you getting a permit through environmental, okay?
Okay,
For the noise,
For the noise.
okay. Thank you so much.
possible noise.
Oh, believe me, it will be settled.
And I'll concur.
Okay.
Thank you. Meeting's open to the public. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Morning.
Morning.
Anne Marie Franklin, my husband Gary Franklin. I'm here regarding my property at 1940 Lincoln Avenue in the Robertsdale section of Hammond. Mr. Kearney asked that I attend the meeting here this morning. I don't know if he's here. Is he?
He is not.
Okay. I'm here, is this something that I should wait for him to be present for? I'm
No,
not
please, you're
sure.
here. You might as well at least let us hear it.
Okay. I received, this is kind of a long story, so I don't know if you want me to cut to the chase, long version, short version. or-
Yeah, short version's fine,
Okay.
I think.
I would want to note that this property is currently on the demolition list. And I believe these folks have an attorney. Is that true? Do you have an attorney?
I've spoken with an attorney. I haven't retained one.
All
Are
right, I
you
thought I-
the attorney's office?
Yes, I'm the attorney for the city, but I thought I got a call recently on this property on behalf of, is it Mr. Del Santo? Does that make sense, or no?
No, I don't know.
Okay, I'll check.
No.
I'll check and see if I've got it. Well, you can go ahead, though, go ahead.
Okay,
Oh, and there's the notice.
yeah. Look, please do.
Yeah, it was
This is the date.
2018.
Yes. I received a notice posted on my door regarding attending a meeting or property be moved to demolition list. The notice clearly states the court was in East Chicago, and in May of 2018. On the back is the gentleman who I spoke to at the East Chicago court that I attended. He was a bailiff or a clerk, I'm not sure.
Yeah, this was a notice, incorrect notice.
Yes, it was, but not knowing, I did follow through and attend a hearing. Unfortunately, I went as directed, not here, not anywhere in Hammond. So a month approximately went by. I received a letter from Mr. Smith's office saying that my property is going up for bids for demolition. The letter was not certified. That was the first I technically heard of it. I mean, this was such a gross error. I didn't know what to make of it. The clerk there thought, well, this must be a cruel joke, and told me to talk to Mr. Porterlane, who is the director there, who was not in the next day, which was a Friday morning. So trying to go forward and do the right thing. I currently reside in my mother's property that was left to me and my siblings in the redevelopment zone in the city of Whiting. They declared eminent domain approximately 10 years ago, and I have every intention of occupying, my husband and I, occupying and moving back into our house on Lincoln Avenue. I went and had the inspection done of the property by Bill Louder, and then received an email report, and this is where my plea here today is to have this report amended, because I am willing to sign it. However, there's several items on here that are just over the top, to be honest. I understand my home does need repair, and I'm very well aware of that. We are on a limited income. As you can see, my husband is ill, so is our son. They both take a great deal of medication every month. He has his hospital bracelet on still. We were at the emergency room till midnight.
Is this a conversation that you've had with Mr. Luter or Mr. Kearney?
I did speak with Mr. Kearney, yes, I had. And this is where he recommended, because I am reluctant to commit my signature to something where I'm not in agreement with it.
So is the house on the demolition list or no?
It is.
It is.
It is. And I've owned the home for 40 years. My taxes are current, which are excess of $3,000 a year.
Okay.
One of our biggest issues is the house hasn't been lived in probably since 2011, is that correct?
It's thereabouts.
Okay. So the water's been shut off since then, no electricity, no gas. I have not seen Mr. Luter's report.
I can show you.
But I would imagine that there could be some pipe damage, some extensive damage that need repair.
Ben, I've been working on it as I can, and I have a brother who's a union carpenter and family members who are skilled with doing type of remodeling. Much of the plumbing has been replaced. I have materials, because we did sell a property to the city of Whiting that was in the redevelopment zone. So I have materials that I can use, which is copper plumbing, a furnace. I have a new hot water or newer hot water heater in place already. I just want to go forward, move into my home, and one thing I know where my biggest expense is going to be is the roof. I'm diligently looking for a roofer who's willing to take payments, because I cannot afford to replace the roof. Nor do I believe it should be a tear-off, because when the roof was put on approximately 20 years ago, it was a tear-off at that point. Now, according to Mr. Luter, because of the house being on the demolition list, it changes everything. So my home is being viewed as deplorable when in fact it is not. He has pictures, but if you'd like me to hit the places, right.
Those are the photos, right? Okay. Yeah, just so the board's aware, and just so the Franklins understand too. So what generally happens, and the board I think is aware of this, is that we put something on the demo list, the board enters an order, then we bid it out. If the property owner wishes to rehab the property, we have an inspection done. Mr. Luter just completed that inspection report. August 30th is the date of the inspection report. And if there is some issues that the homeowner has, usually the inspections department will try to address those with the homeowner. Right. I'll try to address them with the attorney if they have an attorney. And then we'll try to enter into an agreement. During that time, the building department and the inspections department can monitor the progress. And of course, we always try to work with the homeowners if we can, because at the end of the day, we don't want to spend money knocking down a property if the homeowner wants to fix it up. But we just want to make sure it's done pursuant to the code, that it's brought up to date, if it's out of date, and that licensed contractors are utilized if in fact they need to use licensed contractors and the permit process is followed. So we just want to monitor it. I think the best route for the board at this point would be that Ms. Franklin and her family have a meeting with Mr. Kearney and Mr. Luter to try to resolve the issues if they don't have an attorney. If they do, of course, I'll be happy to get involved. Or if they want me there, I'll be happy to come as well. Given kind of what happened in the past, I don't think there's any danger. I haven't seen any danger of this property being given a permit for demo at this point, because I think it sounds like the Franklins are in touch with the inspections department. So the goal, of course, is to always work with the homeowner. But I don't think there's anything for this board to do now. There's just nothing before it.
I came as I was advised to. I didn't mean to take your time, but if you would let me just hit these highlights, and I'd like this back, please. I don't know if you'd like to see this, how it was sent to, it said, sent me to East Chicago.
No, we would stipulate.
We wouldn't
that
know
there
how
was a
that
mistake.
happened.
Yeah, there was a mistake.
Nonetheless, I wasn't given proper notification.
The fact is, though, that now she's here, she's under the jurisdiction of this board. If she wants to object to that, she can do that, but my, my position would be that she's here, she can, if she wants to appeal that order because of lack of notice, she can do that through the court.
And how do I go about that?
I wish I could give you legal advice, but you need to ask an attorney.
You said I need to appeal it to the court?
You can appeal, you can always appeal an order of this board to the court or anything that you believe you didn't get a correct notice on. If you feel you
So
want to
this is
reset it.
something I could look up online, how to appeal to the court? Is that
Again,
basically?
Yeah, you'd have to probably ask a lawyer about
Okay.
that.
That's not a problem. One of the major, well, there's a couple big items that really, it says that it wants me to replace my kitchen. My house was built in the early 1900s. The kitchen fits with the theme. I have natural woodwork throughout, bookcases separating rooms, hardwood floors. I see no reason when it's a functioning kitchen to have to replace it. I've lived with it for years. It works.
Ma'am, I don't think you should get in the specifics of what they've asked you to replace, because that's not our specialty. We don't
Okay.
know about that anyway. I think you should follow through with Kelly Kearney and Bill Luter. Sit down with them, like Attorney Smith just said, with your attorney, without your attorney, and have a conversation with them and see if you guys can find some common ground. Because right now, you're trying to get us to agree with you about what needs to be done and not be done, and we have
And you
no
don't have a
knowledge
clue.
about that. Right. So
I
it's not
understand.
fair. It's not fair to you. So please, do yourself a favor and set up a meeting with Kelly Kearney and Bill Luter and go about it that way. I think that's the best way to go about it.
Nonetheless, I have every intention of hopefully before the end of this year occupying the property.
I hope you do. We hope you do. We don't want to see a house torn down in
Oh
Hammond.
my God, no.
But
It's
go about it that
a
way,
wonderful
though, okay?
neighborhood of Robertsdale. I have no, I would, no, won't
That's
say
a good
even.
spot.
Yeah, please do. Please do,
Spot
okay?
right there.
So speak with Mr. Kearney and arrange a meeting with him?
I would.
Yes.
I mean, again, the inspection report was done on August 30th. We're only 2 or 3 weeks removed from that. So that's a good move forward. And like Mr. Long said, I would talk with Mr. Kearney and Bill.
Okay, one more question. Would you know if minor repairs such as painting, exterior would be constitute work?
Constitute work?
It says work must commence by the 13th of September. And
It's under a
Certainly
demo,
beyond that.
then it can be. One of our main contentions too is that we've actually had to board this up in a few spots, a few times.
basement windows.
Basement windows, the garage is boarded up, it's been boarded up for years and years and years. So slapping some paint on there might, it's kind of like saying putting lipstick on a pig, but at the same time, it's I think, getting the internals, fixed up so that way you can move into it. See what I'm saying?
My wiring is current, except for their new code of hot wired. I shouldn't take any more of your time. Maybe we can talk here,
We can talk and yes.
and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to speak?
We gotta wait for the meeting.
I'm going to recommend we adjourn the meeting.
Dow concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, let me ask you, was it a ploy? She took